Hey everyone, welcome to Bookends of Recovery, where recovery gets real and loved ones aren't left out. I'm Laura, and I've lived it. I've used, I've healed, and I've loved someone through it. Today we are talking about the roots of emotional discomfort and how they get wired into our brain. Have you ever smelled someone's cologne and it reminded you of your best friend from high school? Or maybe you heard the first few seconds of like a song and were instantly brought back to that moment, like you were driving down the highway, like your wind blowing through your hair and just not a care in the world. Me too. I just love those comforting memories. They're just like warm mental hugs. But after disclosure of my husband's addiction, the same thing happened. I would see certain pictures pop up on our digital picture frame. You guys remember those? Or am I dating myself again? Or when I drove past, a certain place. Except these weren't warm, fuzzy feelings that I was experiencing. These were more like, I don't know, cold daggers just stabbing into my heart and my brain. And they happened in just mere seconds. So, if you have ever found yourself just completely overwhelmed by a situation, an emotion, a trigger, or if your nervous system goes from 0 to 60 over something like a tone of voice or a shift in someone's facial expression, I want you to know you're not being dramatic, you're not broken, you're probably wired to react that way because of things that you have lived through or that you're currently experiencing. So let's talk about that wiring. Many of us weren't taught how to identify or name or regulate our emotions, especially if you grew up in chaos around addiction, abuse, or in a home where, quote unquote, everything's fine was the only acceptable emotion. And now I'm talking to both those in recovery and their loved ones. And so instead of learning, hey, that tight feeling in your chest is anxiety, we learned, stuff it down, hide it, perform through it, or disappear into something else, like, I don't know, food, porn, substances, social media. So when hard stuff happens later in life, like betrayal, rejection, conflict, we don't just respond to this moment, we respond to all the moments that came before it. And your nervous system keeps like an emotional highlight reel. And guess what? It doesn't care if today's situation isn't the same as back then. It feels the same and it reacts the same. It's not just mental, it's physical. Our emotional responses don't live in a, you know, file cabinet labeled childhood trauma. I mean, how convenient would that be? They live in our bodies. And that's why you clench your jaw without realizing it. Your stomach drops when your partner gets quiet, or your heart races when you get a text that says, we need to talk, or you freeze when someone yells, even if they're not yelling at you. These are the ways that your body is saying, we've been here before, and it did not feel safe. The sciencey name for this is neuroception. It's how our bodies scan for danger, whether it's real or it's perceived, and it's preparing to protect us. even when that danger is emotional. And so we internalize the pain instead of processing it. When emotional discomfort shows up and we don't have the tools to deal with it, we do what we were taught. We adapt. And so that can show up by, shutting down, lashing out. We might just start scrolling, just that mindless scrolling. We might drink, pick a fight to feel something, right? Anything other than numbing. Or we might just go around apologizing simply for existing. And when that becomes a pattern, it gets wired into how we function. Not because we're trying to be difficult, because our body is trying to protect us the best way it knows how. But there is always hope, right? Because what gets wired can be rewired. Okay, bookenders. Get ready, because one of my favorite words is coming up. Our brains are malleable. We can rewire them. That's the beautiful thing about the human brain and the body. And that's why I always feel like there is so much hope when it comes to addiction and healing from trauma. Our brain can learn new ways to respond. And to me, that is just so exciting. And I think that's why I love to talk about my husband's recovery so much, is because once he found that platform, first it was Condeo, and now it's kind of been absorbed into Fortify. Knowing the science of it was what made such a huge difference for him, because knowing that he could rewire his brain, that's what made him click. And so it doesn't start with, pushing ourselves harder. It starts with noticing, noticing when your stomach tightens before a conversation. For me, that's how I dealt with hypervigilance. I noticed when I was logging on to an unhealthy website, and I was like, oh my gosh, every time I log on to this website, my stomach, I feel almost nauseous. I was getting my jaw was tightening, my pulse was quickening, and I realized it's not instincts anymore. This is just me feeling terrible. I need to stay off that website. You notice the urge to distract when you're feeling sad, or you're noticing the stories or the narrative you tell yourself when you feel ignored or unimportant or unsafe. When we notice, that gives us that opportunity to create a pause. Remember the clock face, right? All those moments, all those seconds. That's that opportunity to step out and pause. And then in that pause, we can start choosing something new. Even if it's small, it matters. So here are some things that you can give a try. Name 3 textures that you can feel right now. Just anything, like your shirt sleeve, a chair, the floor under your feet. Whisper one kind thing to yourself, like you would talk to a younger version of you. Something kind. You can try touching something cold or warm, like your coffee mug, or a sink handle, or a smooth stone. Trace a shape with your finger, like you can try doing like the infinity loop, or a heart shape, or a star. And do that on your the palm of your hand or on your thigh. You can try to look for one thing that didn't exist 10 years ago and do that like in your immediate space. And try to do something aside from your smartphone. Like for me right now, I could say my, what's that called? My, oh gosh, I want to say my Dyson fan. I think that's what the brand is. I love that thing. Mentally label your emotion like it's a headline. You know, feeling slightly off because I wasn't invited. Something like that. Hum a few seconds of a song that calmed you in the past. One of my favorites is visualizing a stop sign. But instead of doing the regular, how we've done in the past where we make the stop sign red and then you focus on the letters and the reflectiveness, this time take the stop sign, but make it glittery, purple. Change it into a different shape like a kidney bean. And ask yourself one question like, what do I actually need right now in this moment? And if you want, you can actually say that out loud. Don't worry what anybody thinks. Who cares? Think about yourself right now. And as you ask yourself, be honest with yourself. And then just say one thing out loud that you're grateful to have, whether it's big or small. And these tiny actions don't fix everything, but what they are meant to do is interrupt what's going on. They remind us that we're allowed to be aware, curious, and kind to ourselves in those moments where we would trying to numb or escape or spiral. So that's just some quick, easy, simple ways to get your brain going toward a healthy rewiring path and step out and pause. In the next in the next podcast, I'll be talking about numbing behaviors that we tend to reach for that look like they're healthy, but they are not. So, as always, you can find me over at bookendsofrecovery.com for free workbooks and tools and ways to connect. And you're also invited to join other bookenders on Reddit. It's a brand new place where I will be sharing more workbooks, but a great place for you guys to connect, whether you are in recovery or love someone who is, and just to have an open dialogue, and it's a safe space there. And that's Bookends of Recovery on there, and also on Facebook at Bookends of Addiction Recovery. Never forget your strength, your value, your lovability, and what a total superstar you are. Just keep showing up. You are amazing, and you are a superstar. Stay grounded, keep breathing, and I will catch you the next time. I am sending positive vibes your way. This is Laura, and I am so grateful to have you here with me.